Welcome to the Packweight Show. Yo, welcome back to the Packweight Show. We're here for episode 3, the Majestic Filly. What's up today? As you can see, we have our very good longtime friend Cliff with us today. Yo, Cliff, how you doing, bro?
Yes, very good, man. I'm mostly excited to see you guys. It's been, we were saying, well over 10 years for some of us. So
Wow.
To sit here and to catch up is actually amazing. So thanks for having me, guys. I'm a bit nervous, to be honest. I have no idea where this is going to go. The lads are pretty good at pushing the boundaries. So there's a sense of nervousness that I've got, but mostly excitement. Thanks for having me.
It's a great pleasure to have you here. And John, let us know how you're feeling.
Just happy to be here, Byron. I'm very stoked to be chatting with Cliff. As he says, it's been 10 years and the same. You know, we don't really, we structure a little bit, but a lot of it's just in the moment. So wherever it goes, it's exciting now.
Frank, tell us about how freestyle it is.
Yeah, it's pretty freestyle. You look at a picture and then you start chatting about stuff that didn't even happen in that picture. But it's
that's the part I'm
wander
worried
off
about.
a bit, you know.
You guys are
Cool.
beautifully taking everybody down a trip down memory lane, and my memory around so many events is so vague. I'm worried that it's not going to serve the podcast very well.
Nah,
You know what? Let's see how things are jumped.
I think we each kind of have a piece of the puzzle. You know, there's the picture, and we each have a piece of that. And once we all start showing or putting our piece together, the picture starts to change a little bit, which is amazing. You know, I learned, as we said on that first episode, we didn't actually even know where the name came from. After all these years, we didn't even know the true origins, you know? So it's a rad learning process.
Maybe that's a great place to start. Cliff, if you want to take us over. I know you posted to Facebook on us, but tell us your recollection about the Packweight name.
Yeah, I actually, like I said on the comment, it was there was a chap called Colin. Him and he had two brothers, but Colin and was a friend of mine, but probably more a friend of Daryl's, which was sort of a Broker King thing. We grew up in Littleton, and I just remember Colin coining the phrase Packweight, and we were like, hey man, we were hugely influenced by music and the hip hop culture, and aspiring MCs and wanted to make it at that. So having a crew name just slides along well with that. Packweight was the word. And so I remember, and then as I was saying, I think where it really landed were those days in Randburg, when I visited you guys a lot.
All the time.
All the time. And PWC started to take shape, I remember, from those days. So, it's a bit of a Pretoria export. From a fella that doesn't even rollerblade, but was sort of on the fringe of the things that we were doing because of the connection with hip hop, etc. And the boys took it over.
I remember it. Basically, that was like meme life before memes were a thing. Or I mean, the internet largely it was obviously not as huge a thing as it is now. But the way that ideas and words and names would just metastasize between our group of friends was really something, like the crew name, and then everyone's painting their different names, whatever they may be, and stuff like the noctile comes into the picture, and it's just, where do these words come from? And then they stick forever. Like,
fantastic. I remember you as Bizro, the Leskov on the bottom right, Frank Leskov, John Q. Bizro. It was brilliant, man. I just loved the things. The Nocatile. Craig Uriah was hugely influential with a lot of those words that came into play. And I remember my MC name was Elite, E-L-I-T-E. And so that was the one that I tried to stick. I think I sprayed that on your wall that you spoke of. Was it last podcast?
Yeah.
So I was actually right next to Gaza when we were busy doing that huge mural. It was cool.
Yeah, what a time. And it's incredible to think back. And so, as Cliff says, we haven't spoken, these days with social media, we occasionally see what's happening with each other, but to have a real chat and to actually talk face to face is really, I feel like I'm smiling endlessly already. I think everyone's got a huge feeling of happiness and excitement for this. So
yes,
it's super cool. And so I remember those days, Cliff, and I remember how often you would drive back and forth from Pretoria. Centurion, was it?
Yeah, we were in Centurion. And so, in the beginning, obviously we were still in high school, so we're driving it. And it wasn't until I became friends, and I don't remember where or how this happened, but with Zion Smith. I think it was the third podcast. You guys were like, who was that guy? The guy with the BMX? Zion. Yeah, that was Zion. And he was the younger brother of Demogene. And they had cousins, Smurf, or Greg and Dean Smith. And they were ripping it up on the skateboard. But they were much older than us. And they were really good friends with, do you guys remember Steph? Stefan Wood.
Yeah. Yes, dude, I remember.
No offense, Steph, but like kind of like a stick style, and so it was. Those were the guys that were bringing us back and forth to Johannesburg in the beginning days, and a lot of the time to Boogaloos. And so that's how I started to travel a little bit towards the 011 because of those gents, but. They were hugely influential, and I think in Pretoria days of skating, it was awesome.
Man, that's a trip. It's good to hear about Stefan and Smurf. I distinctly remember Greg. He was a crazy good skater. Man, that was awesome. And go ahead, John.
No, I was just thinking about it yesterday. I went on to Knuckles. Is it called just Knuckles, Cliff?
Yes.
I know you made it like.
Knuckle Hub.
It's like
Knuckle Hub.
10 years ago, but I just went there to kind of catch, see what sort of other info that we could maybe add to this and make it more colorful. And I thought to myself, you were basically in Pretoria, but how is it that you didn't fall into the Pretoria crew and instead landed up, obviously your skating and everything spoke for itself and, led to Team Rosie's and all that. But it would have been very easy for you to fall into the PTA crew and just kind of,
Yeah. Well, I did. I think so, which I did. And the crew that I would say, which forged and framed our skating was definitely the PTA crew. It was, but there were, like you were talking about it last time, there were pockets. There were different pockets in the time, and so I know there was a Menlyn crew, and more often than not, we did connect at the State Theatre or at the thick black rails in the centre of Pretoria town. I don't know.
Yes, that's a great spot.
Oh man, it was a legend spot, and a lot of Pretoria crews met there. But the crew that I was rolling with was Demogene, Steph. Mostly skateboarders, to be honest, but rollerblading with them in the beginning. And then I had one friend from school who actually was, how do I say this? He actually got me into rollerblading on a way more, just a little bit more of an aggressive level, because I used to have those pick and pay specials, luminous green wheels, really unpleasant to roll on. And his dad was a pilot, and I don't know. He just said, "Hey, do you want a pair of? My dad's going to go to the States soon, and I'm going to get a pair of rollerblade tarmacs." And he says, "Man, do you want a pair of these things? Look at that, amazing." I said, "Man, it looks great. Don't know that Mom's going to buy them though, so let's see how we go." She did, and so he came back with a pair of rollerblade tarmacs, and that guy and myself backed us. We Verwipperstad. You guys remember a place called Verwipperstad or Centurion City? That was our playground. It was stair heaven, and we just hung out there most of the beginning days of our rollerblading career. We spent a lot of time street skating in town, And at which point we connected with Demogene, and then we started to travel to Boogaloo's more often than we did to. I think this is way before even Kyle Army days. Because I do remember very clearly the day that I saw you guys for the first time, and I was like, "What is happening in South Africa?" It was it was stunning, man. It really was. It was Nick Buchanan, Graham Jackson, and Toby French. Those three individuals in particular, guys. Do you remember we called it the hip rail, silver rail, about a hip height, and just went straight down to the ground?
Yeah.
Do you remember the rail at Kyle Army?
Exactly. I recall.
That rail had been around since the beginning of time at Kyle Army. And I remember seeing Nick Buchanan and Toby and Graham Jackson jumping onto that handrail from ground up, which at the time for me was very hard to fathom, if I'm honest, because we were playing in parking lots with rails about 6 inches high. So that's when I saw, whoa, there's some guys out here that are doing some incredible things. Let's go and hide out in Centurion and work on our skills. Before we figure out.
Let's go train in the hyperbolic time chamber.
Guys, let's go hide away, because these guys are really good. It was amazing, and I do remember it. But,
we kind of had a similar experience from Rustenburg. We came to Joburg and we were like blown away by, I think Herman was one of the top guys back then that I saw skating at Boogaloo's, and I was also blown away by his skating, and I was like, okay, let's go back to the drawing board,
Absolutely. It was a little bit disconcerting, although if I'm honest, I don't think I was competitive. It wasn't anything that I was aspiring to. I hadn't even had my hands yet on one of the first rollerblading videos, and so I didn't even have a hero. It was just, hey, this is cool. It's a little bit sort of antisocial, and the personalities that we were during high school was like, this is cool. I'm done with team sports. I just want to rollerblade. So that fit the bill. But I think when we saw you guys, it was like, hey man, maybe we can progress, and maybe we can do something. Who knows where that will end up, but maybe we can push it a bit. It was awesome.
That's such a great point, because it was so inspirational. It was like you would see guys doing this stuff, and it would just make you so excited and so amped to to want to do it yourself, to get to that level. You're like, I just want to do it. Like, gave you such motivation. And the point about school and team sports is really interesting as well, because I can remember high school and still being forced, when you had to do school sports, and it's like a Saturday morning, I have to go play a rugby game, and all I want to do is fucking go rollerblading. I'm like, why do we have to do this thing? So the individuality of it, and it felt much more like art and expression of self than I mean, I love team sports, especially, Go Bokke and all the shit, but
what a victory.
Results. At the time, it's that, I don't know, that teenage angst of I just want to do my own thing and be my own person. I don't want to fall in line with your stuff. So I think all of us connected on a deep level on that counterculture tip, as you say, on wanting to express ourselves, but find other individuals that were similar and different, but were similar, and it's all this complementary, synergistic vibe, like the vibes when we were all skating together, and someone would land something incredible, and it would just amp you up. You'd be like, I'm going to try this thing now. Let's go.
Oh, man. It was dangerous. It was dangerous how amped we got. Because I don't know that we were too afraid. We were ready to go, and I mean, you're right. I don't know what it was like in Joburg during these years, and I'm talking mid to late 90s, I think 97, 98. We were hugely influenced by the punk rock culture. Not so much hip hop just yet. although that was always there, but we were massively influenced by punk rock. And there was, do you still remember there was a South African punk rock band called Leak?
Yes.
No worries.
Oh man, absolutely.
Forgot about that.
That's going way back. And
that was Pretoria-based.
That was Pretoria's skate culture. It was, and so when you met up with someone that was that way inclined because of music, and then you sort of found out that they also had this inclination to go skating, it was just like, man, let's do this. Let's just hang out, man. And I also love team sports, but it just seemed so expressive. It just seemed like it just seemed right. It was just a track to fall into, be who you thought you were at a particular time in your life. It was fantastic.
Wow.
Yeah.
Totally. Skating and music is a match made in heaven. Like those two things almost feel like they belong together.
Yeah. Picking your song for your run was no small endeavor.
Exactly, yeah.
You didn't just pull one out of the sky. You thought about this for a long time. This is the song I'm skating to.
True that. And talking about skating runs and stuff like that, maybe we should have a look at some of the slides.
Yeah, let's pull these up.
Oh, wow.
All right. Number 1, Cliff, take us through. What are we seeing here?
Oh, goodness me. I'll tell you what, I have no idea where the one on the left is, but my goodness me, it looks like could be my son.
I think this possibly was probably around the time we were shooting African Link.
Yes, it's such a big.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
Oh, no, I think it's earlier than that, Frank.
Even before then.
I think definitely earlier.
I think you must be about 16 there, Cliff. Maybe.
Guys. I
15,
can't,
16.
I can't pin it, but I'm a baby. The T-shirt says something to me that I'm trying to remember.
Like Senate or Rosie's. I also remember that shirt for some reason.
Yeah, but I do, and it's such a beautiful picture on the right over there.
I love that photo, bro. I found that on Knuckle Hub or Knuckles.
Yeah. I mean, that's the one thing. There's one thing that I've been thinking about a lot since you guys started this whole podcast. Is, guys, it was extremely formative years for us as people, as the people that we are today. And I can't remember who said, John or Byron, one of you guys, but you made a point in saying that Mel and Brent, they invested in us. They invested in this motley crew, and they really did, actually. Like looking at their photo now and remembering who they are. And obviously, I don't want to speak for them, but I remember some of the some of the under the surface things that they used to say to me in private and in quiet about why they're doing what they're doing. And, they could have gone in any other direction and made a heck of a lot more money, et cetera, et cetera. But they chose not to. And they genuinely did make an investment in all of our lives. And maybe not so much a financial investment in their own in that regard, but I think the return is so much greater. And I do remember some of the things that they said to me that if I just listened to, I think my, shall we say, maybe the outcome of some of the days that I spent skating professionally, maybe the transition back into normal life wouldn't have been as tricky as it was if I just listened to some of the things that they'd said to me when I was probably about as young as that guy in that photo next to them over there. But you know how it was. We literally just wanted to skate. Man, oh man. I think that was number one priority. And so, thankful for Mel and Brent. It needs to be said.
Dude, they definitely had a massive influence in all of our lives. And
Totally.
They sowed a lot of seeds, and they were very selfless and did a lot just for us, And I mean, how do you thank someone for that? It's like
It's immeasurable.
Yeah, you can't measure what they did for us,
It was quite a privilege to have them behind us, because I think a lot of, no other skaters really had a backing, whether that be, just support as young men, but also obviously on the sponsorship side. it was a massive privilege, and I think a lot of guys probably envied that position we were in. A lot of the other skaters, and I hope we realized it at the time. I think we did to a certain degree, but there was probably a bit of ego and arrogance also floating around. Like, we are Team Rossies, we are the shit, and I think it. Now to look back and fully appreciate it feels like the sort of the gratuity of how we feel now. Hopefully we can pay a little bit back now, that if we missed any then. But I think we were pretty good along the way of always being very thankful to have them,
Totally.
There might have been a little bit of attitude, but also we were coming to your skate park to skate there. We were,
what do you mean?
Not you in particular. I mean, everyone else. We were the ones going around the country to go skate all the comps everywhere else.
True.
And yes, other dudes came up here. But yeah, I mean, the attitude stuff aside, I want to say like a huge thank you to Mel and Brent for everything. Like, we're trying to let you guys know how grateful we are, and I think we're struggling to make that point, but we're extremely grateful. And I think from what Cliff was saying, and I think now that some of us have our own kids, you can try to teach someone and tell them what you should do or what the best thing for you to do is. But lessons have to be learned for yourself, as like we all know. You're going to go through it yourself. You're going to make your own bad decisions, and hopefully we can just teach our kids that actions have consequences. But thank you, Mel and Brent, and also I wanted to say thank you to Sebastian and Hugo. Sebastian, who did Fishbrain back in the day, because they sent us a huge ton of photos where a lot of these came from, and it was super awesome to see. And so maybe we jump onto the next one now.
Sure.
Here back in 2000, we did have some pics of Sun City show back in the last episode, but here we've got one of Cliff doing a big flat 3. Is that Frank underneath him? Yeah. Stood stretched as high as he can, and Cliff is a good foot above that, so that's huge. And 24 Garrett Gold with the stylish Stale Grab 360 on the right.
Yes.
Shout out to Garrett. Rocking the cornrows. What a time.
What a time, eh? What a time. I remember, so if you're talking about ego, I think it shone through a little bit. Yeah, I remember us lounging around that bar like we were Roman gods, to be honest.
They treated us too well.
I say that with respect, but yes, and they really did lay it on, but it was, something happened over here. Several things happened at Sun City, but something happened at this one. And I think it had something to do with the knock. The knock had something happened. Maybe you guys can refresh my memory, but there was this little downhill. Do you guys remember behind this building? So there was the downhill that took us back down to our little chalets where we were staying. Man, something happened with knock. I'm trying to jog my memory. I don't know what it was, but I just remember that sticking out during this time. What a time,
I don't remember.
No. They did.
And I think, of all this, we did a lot of shows over the years that we felt obligated, and also it was an opportunity for us to earn money. Unfortunately, Cliff, and I know you had your moments with these shows, especially because you were riding at a professional level. You didn't really need to do, kind of, strapping funny suits on and, kind of the clowns for the...
I don't know that's true. I don't know that that's true.
No. I feel like there were a lot that we did that we compromised our integrity a little bit, let's say that. Whereas this show in particular was very much ours, run by us. It felt like we weren't being made fools of in the process, whereas a lot of shows kind of felt that way at the end, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do know what you mean. I thought about that obviously. I just don't think people understood rollerblading. You're right, because I do remember some of the shows that we did. There was one somewhere in Johannesburg, in the city. We had to wear like a lumo, weird things, and it was just everything about it was not what we were about. Everything about it, and I remember we used to get a little bit disgruntled, and then we sort of bit the bullet because we didn't mind the pay, and that was going to be helpful for us all. But I just don't think they understood rollerblading. I mean, Arlo was the guy that started talking about rollerblading as an art form. I don't know if you remember. I think it was in this days. He started to like sort of throw that question out during interviews and just be like, "But is rollerblading a sport? Is it maybe just an art form, etc.?" And I think we experienced something of that. We got invited. We did so many corporate shows, which is incredible if you think about it. If you really think about it, we were this motley crew, very countercultural, the people that people didn't want to give time to, people that, nobody wanted to invest in us. And so that's why it's so impressive that Mel and Brent did. Yeah. I mean, we had opportunities that my friends in school would have dreamed of getting. We were living an incredible life, man. Yes, and the opportunities that were coming our way at our age was just remarkable. And then the fact that we were being booked one weekend after the next, we did so many gigs for corporate shows, which was this is not rollerblading, although we're getting paid, so what do we do with this? They just didn't understand. So do you mind wearing this? We're like, yep, we do mind. That'd be great if we didn't have to. They're like, okay, but we need you to. So you can look at it both ways, I think. It was
they just wanted a spectacle, and we just wanted to enjoy our time rolling. So that was quite something. But maybe that did knock the attitude out of us a little bit. Either wearing a silver suit with mirrors attached and skating around the boardroom.
That was the one.
Keep us humble.
Just, you got an attitude, just bring it down, champ. And simmer down to a boil.
Wear this leotard and a mirror. Bring it back.
And maybe I shouldn't mention it, but I will anyway. I distinctly remember one where I got to wear the clown suit and do a 540 off the ramp. With the
literal
clown suit. Yeah.
So I'm saying we were often jesters to these corporate crowds, and it was like, the king must be entertained, bring in the jesters, and we were good jesters.
Fantastic.
It's so funny.
Maybe we were taking ourselves a little bit too seriously, so that's perfect.
But I know,
knocked us down a peg.
I know how much fun, no matter what circumstances we had to deal with, how much fun, because we did it together, we always just had fun and made the most of it,
Yes.
And we got to be, it brought us down a notch, like you guys said, humbled us a bit,
Yeah.
And I think it also shaped us in what we became. In the end,
handling a bit of pressure as well, maybe,
and it definitely teaches you what you will and won't do for money anymore. I won't take a corporate gig anymore. Let's put it that way.
I don't think at the time we turned anything away. Mel and Brent were the organizers of that. They had already booked us, and we just showed up.
Yeah.
No, and once it was done, then we were all so relieved and so happy it was done. Pocket full of cash, which got spent very, very quickly on numerous things like Cliff and my city golfs got all the upgrades.
Oh, the sounds. Yeah.
Yes.
Remember Cliff?
I do. Yeah. I remember the city golf, but who remembers what did we call it?
Dude, your Opal.
Do you remember the Opel? Jethro sticker on the front.
Dude, that was the most gangster car. I love that.
You fit about 16 people on the back seat.
Yeah.
West Side Connection.
Dude, yes.
That intro in African Link sums that car up and its vibe. And I mean, that was actually the sound that was playing at the Woodstock when we were b-boying on the ramp and we were skating the boat ramp a little bit. The sound that was coming for everybody there was from your car. There was no DJ. It was your car sound.
Yeah. Shout out to Llewellyn, my dad. Thanks, Dad. He pulled it off.
Shout out.
Oh my goodness, I remember this days. Yeah, I'm on the fence whether I'll let my son see that intro one day. We'll see.
No under 18s, maybe.
Slightly cringe-worthy, but hey, man, we were having a great time.
I think if you don't cringe about some stuff in your past, have you truly grown?
Have you truly grown?
Like,
oh, fantastic.
The lessons have to be learned from somewhere, I guess. And here we're taking a look at Wits University circa 2001, I would say.
Sure.
24 karat gold again with the, what do we call it, a sunny day?
Yeah.
Beautiful sunny day. Herman, Vuyo, me and Matt in the background.
Yeah.
Durag days.
Gracious.
I think Garrett's got some dreads there.
Garrett was rocking dreads, yeah.
Sure, man.
Yo.
It does bring back so many good memories, eh?
Yeah.
That rail wasn't easy to get onto either, as you can see by the flank.
And it had a massive drop off the right-hand side here. What you don't see is there's another staircase going down.
Yes.
So there's actually a huge drop off there, which I remember Nick
did it.
grinding and jumping right off there, right? No.
Front side 180s off and sweat starts and back Roy jumping off there. I remember that. And
the
that
perspiration pose.
Not amazing. Yes. Yeah.
No.
You know what comes to mind when I look at this photo, because I remember the days of Wits. Hey, it was something about heading out in the morning with all of the lads and honestly not thinking about anything else at all for the entirety of the day and coming back when you're done and that just being that. It was just an amazing time of our lives. Eh? I mean, I think a lot had happened even before this image. I think this image, I felt like rollerblading in South Africa, there was this moment that just went like, whoop, like the level of skating just like elevated. I feel like, Byron, I feel like you were the catalyst for that. I feel like, I don't know, man, of everybody that we used to skate with, I remember very, very clearly, like, what's happened. Byron is all of a sudden superhuman. He's just skating incredibly well. You know, not to say that you were never that good, but there was just this very obvious elevation in your skill. And I feel like that happened as a whole in rollerblading. And these days, the do-rag days were those days. You know, I can't remember what videos were coming out at the time because obviously we were massively influenced and inspired by them. Because the level of skating and the things that we started to do, I think we moved from doing tricks to doing stunts. Was around these days. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's how I remember them.
So that's sick. Thanks, Cliff. Yeah, no, I feel like I honestly got to your guys' level, maybe, or like, I don't feel like I was pushing anything, but I definitely think there was a huge level of inspiration from the international pros, as you were saying, because this was around the time we were discussing last time. You know, the first Century City comp, Aaron Feinberg and Shane Scour were there, and their level was absolutely incredible. And I think all of us were inspired and super amped on that. And I think, are those kutais, like which Rossies were we rocking at this time? Like those were some of my favorite skates.
Definitely kutais, yeah.
I still remember because I can kind of see it there. Tipex Tech rock onto the back of my skates, and I was like, "This is it. Let's fucking go."
Amazing.
So the Wits days were sick like that. But I mean, maybe around this time, Cliff, or was it this year or before? When did you start going to international competitions and vibing with the dudes from Shima and Latin?
Yeah, it started before this because I got my I can't remember which one came first, whether it was a Senate contract or whether it was the Roses contract, but I was in school because I remember having to go to my principal's office with my folks and discussing this. It was unbelievable. It was like, I've got this opportunity of a lifetime, so I'm thankful. My dad is very logical. thinking through, hey, let's do school, and I'm thankful for that, and what he sort of imparted in me. My mom was the dreamer, and they had this combination of two, and I don't know how I got this right. I don't think I did. I think there was something far greater at hand over here, but the compromise was just promise you'll pass school, Cliff. And I was like, okay, I promise. If that's what it takes, I promise I'll pass school. Cool. Let's move on. And it wasn't a week later, and I was in Montebelluna, Rose's headquarters, sitting at the table, and it was Manuel Pilaris and a bunch of the guys on the team. And I was sitting there going, whoa, what happened over here? A couple of weeks ago, I was sitting in a classroom. So I want to say end of standard 8 or early standard 9, which would put it around 97, 98, let's say, to be safe.
Sorry, Cliff, just to add into from what I read on Knuckle Hub, you said that you were pro between 97 and 2003, and you did start telling that story. But my question was because obviously we all wanted to get there. I think the roadmap to get there was not that clear, so to me it was the question was, how did you make that connection? If we were all kind of traveling the same road, obviously I think your placement in competitions counted for a lot, and I think we touched on it previously, where there was a national ranking in South Africa. And the July comp and then the December comp would, affect that aggregate that you had there. And you dominated those competitions hands down for many years. So was that kind of the catalyst for Mel and Brent? Did Mel and Brent reach out and say, hey, we've got this guy? Or did they reach out from that side and be like, hey, what's happening in South Africa? You're a distributor for us. Do you have anyone that you could put forward? How did that come about?
So I think I don't think there was a clear roadmap for us. I think for us in South Africa, and when I'm saying us, I'm saying us with respect and knowing that I got to the scene a lot later than you guys did. But I'll speak on behalf of us, because I don't think there was a very clear roadmap. Just to tee up my answer to your question, John. I remember when I did come to Kyalami, my tarmacs were Rasta color sprayed them Rasta color. Do you remember that?
I remember the States, yeah.
There was a very impromptu decision to skate a competition that was just happening on the day, and I entered intermediate. And I remember my dad had built me a little launch ramp, almost exactly the same transition as the small launch ramp at Kyalami. And I was like, man, what a winner. I'm comfortable on this thing. So I just managed to land the front flip. And I remember popping a front flip on that little tiny launch ramp, and that's what clinched the first place at intermediate. And now I entered into the realms of skating with the big fellas, and that was all you boys. And that was, I think at that particular point in time, it was either between Nick Buchanan or Toby French. So these are the competitions that we started skating. This is where I became acquainted with, what Mel and Brent were actually starting to do. Brent, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think when he first saw me with my rasta-colored skates, I think he cautioned all of you boys and said, "Stay away from that boy. It's probably bad news." And so, anyways, that ended very quickly, and relationships started to build. I think maybe Brent saw that there was an ability to skate and perhaps roll with some of the guys, and so he saw me, he recognized me, which I think at that age means the world to us. We want to know that we're seen. We want to know that what we're doing and our efforts are worth it, and so I was being told, and we would be given. We just got the inside loop. Hey, this is going to be a comp day. Make sure you're there. This is going to happen. Make sure you can get there. And it's just like, okay, good. This way we can progress and sort of see how we're doing with each other. But that was the sum total of a roadmap, if you like. It was just skate comps and do as best as you can. But I think it was the skate videos. My first skate video was Mad Beef. And so obviously for me, Ola Eisenberg, he was my first hero. He was the first guy that I thought, man, that guy, when, we start to become privy to style and the expression of it. And it's like, well, why do you like that soul and not that soul? It's just like, well, I just like the way that he tweaked that. That was the nature of rollerblading. Started to watch these things, and I remember there being a very quiet, a very private imagine. Can you just imagine? Like, can you imagine doing this, what these guys are doing? But I don't think that it was I don't think that there was any sort of a sense of this is possible. This is definitely possible. I mean, South Africa wasn't on the map. We weren't part of any tour. We just weren't on the map. Now, to fast forward a bit, after having skated a fair few competitions with all the guys and, street skating starting to take shape, but, like you guys were talking about in the first competition, identifying all of the different crews and all of that, which was good. I remember a turning point was when Arlo did come, and now at this point I've gone past the Sun City days when those guys came out. This is beyond that. This is John Bergeron days. So I think we're skipping over a lot of years over here. But to answer your question with regards, when did you turn pro? How did that happen? After many competitions, John Bergeron was in town. He had just won the Gravity Games. He had just won the Extreme Games. I think he did exceptionally well at Lausanne, if Lausanne was still going, which is the unofficial world champions. Basically, John Bergeron was like the guy. And you guys know, I don't take any credit for this because you know the nature of the sport, man. It's so easy for you to have a good day and me to have a bad day, and then that's the result, So rollerblading and competitions was always a little bit like, yeah, but is it truly what's really going on in the streets? And I happened to have a good day. John Bergeron didn't have such a good day. I got podiumed, and I think that caused a bit of a stir.
Wow.
And I remember not long after that, it was like there was a Senate invitation to join Senate. Roses were very interested, and it was snowball. It was just like, whoa, man! My biggest hurdle was to get past my folks, and as soon as they agreed, I was there. I was in Europe and skating competitions. And so, guys, I'm going to stay in my lane and say this. I do think that there was something far greater than myself that was at hand. I mean, that played a role in all of this. I don't think we could have made these things up. There was no roadmap. There was no specific boxes to tick, and you could be like, okay, I can get in if I do this. It was a miracle, I would say.
It was a perfect storm. It was a perfect storm of ability, you being on fire, the time, the place. Mel and Brent already have the relationship with Rosies. The pros are here. And as you say, any given Sunday at the competition, anyone could take it. And there was quite a strategy to it in a way, because your run, you need to do tricks that are hard enough to win maybe, but then you have a greater chance of falling. Falling is not going to have you win. But if you just take it easy and just jet around the course without really doing difficult tricks, then you're also not going to place, because it's like, okay, well, speed and fluidity were good, but the difficulty and technicality weren't there. And so that whole package comes together. And as you say, sometimes you have a very good day and other people don't. And I think, Cliff, your strategy for comps, I mean, you're always nailing killer tricks, but just the line choice and the amplitude and the consistency meant that you won comp after comp. I know you probably don't want to hear too much praise, but I'm going to lay it on anyway, because like you were that inspiration for us as well. You were beating the pros, quote unquote, that were coming out here from the States because you were on their level. And like when it came to skating comp runs, your results do speak for themselves. And it was epic every time. And man, we used to have big parties every time. Like we'd finish up the comp and everyone would have a jolt. But I think regarding getting international sponsorship from South Africa, you've got a great point there as well. We were so far away from everything else. Like it's a big trip to come to South Africa from any first world country, quote unquote. It's not on their roadmap. And so it had to be a special talent, the perfect time, luck meets opportunity, and just, I mean, hard work. Like, you did work hard at skating and you reaped those rewards. And I think it was also the time when rollerblading, I don't know, company budgets were, doing well, because like for a couple of years after that, it all fell off after a while. But I think we're all incredibly proud of you, and like we always were, because it was so sick. It was so sick to have our homie who's the pro skater. Like, this is the level. Yeah, and remembering Bergeron, like you bringing him up, I hadn't thought of him in a long time, but he was like, what was his nickname? Like the Terminator or something. That dude was
The robot.
Wasn't that the company that also started around then? Supercomputer.
Yeah, supercomputer robots. Absolutely. Byron, thank you for saying all of that. It was very kind.
Pleasure, bro.
But I don't think we ever thought of it that way. I truly, it was never super grateful. Never a dull moment. Loved every little bit of it. But how many times I did truly long just to be skating with the homies. Really, it was such a hard group of people to crack once abroad. So competition is one thing, but then you would end up staying at people's houses and filming for videos and everything. And they had what we had, just they had it over there. But because of skating, you get this entry in, and that's good. But man, it just wasn't the same as rolling around Sandton City with the lads. It just wasn't the same. It wasn't the same as cruising around Bryanston. I mean, some of the most memorable times we ever had were the trips in between skate spots in the vehicles. Guys, honestly, I don't. Maybe Nick Buchanan should speak into that, but I never heard any one man take so much flack from so many people all the time. And he just stood his ground in the vehicle. Too good. That's besides the point. But I never thought of it that way. To hear that the Jets were proud and stoked that was happening, I think says something about the kind of people we were and the crew that we were. Because that's a rarity these days, I'm afraid to say. It's hard to come by people that truly celebrate other people's victories. And when you do see it, it's special. It's something it's something to give credit to, And I think that's what we were like. I mean, we competed against each other, but my goodness, we were so stoked for each other when we all progressed. When somebody landed a trick that that he's been trying to lace for the last 3 weeks, 4 weeks, week in, week out, and now he nailed it, we were so genuinely stoked. And when somebody won, we were happy. I remember that a lot. I mean, that was special about us as a crew. Some of those deeper life principles that I think we probably all carry with us today as a result of those times spent together.
Absolutely. That was beautiful. This has got to be around those times as well. This is late-ish 90s, I would say, 97, 98.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Wow, man.
And,
So
maybe
just
even
looking
before.
at the 360 there, I think there was one particular period in my skating career that I had skates that were too big for me. But I'm wondering if this picture here was that picture, but no, I don't think it was. Wow, and this is, I was going to say, is this the skate park that had the massive 8-foot wave along the side? Because that top sole looks like that. But when I look at the flat spin above it, that doesn't have a hip yet. No,
those are definitely different years, as you say, like top right and bottom right are... top right is earlier certainly than bottom right, where that huge long quarter pipe was that we used to love sessioning at sunset after a short walk down to the river. And and so I think the next one, oh man, look at that. Wow. Speaking of podiums.
Wow.
There we go.
Garrett's on the podium.
It was interesting to see Toby there as well for me. I was like, damn, Topes. He was up there, Yeah.
Yes, he totally
Got back
was
up there,
always
yeah.
up
And
there.
those unhappy faces, those sitting on the quarter pipe in the back. They do not look impressed.
Not impressed.
I think that's Sean Seaman back there, isn't it?
Yeah, it actually does look like him.
I think it's
That's so
Sean.
funny.
It feels like one of them is whispering under their breath. I think this was rigged, man.
Yeah.
These are the guys, when you're playing on stage, it's the guitarist in the back of the room watching you play like this.
Fantastic, man. And this Nationals, eh? That's the trophy that has the little handrail and the guys on the handrail going down, I
sick.
think. Yeah.
Yeah, some medals, some trophies,
Medals,
Garrett
trophies,
Ruffin
Red Bull.
McCornrows, Red Bulls all the way.
Yes, you guys, Red Bull did a number for us in South Africa for rollerblading.
Yeah.
And the particular, I think Claire, maybe I get her surname wrong, but Claire Tilson, I want to say. She was my sort of liaison for Red Bull, but there was a relationship between Brent and Mel and Red Bull for sure. And then I just remember, I actually remember getting flown out to Austria to go to the Red Bull headquarters as well, and just being given an opportunity to sit at the table and talk about rollerblading in South Africa. It was terrifying.
Amazing, bro.
Terrifying, but it was an amazing thing to actually sit and be an ambassador for the sport in South Africa, and with the hopes that they would stay involved and potentially throw some extra money our way for competitions and things like that. And they did, eh? They really did represent in South Africa for us. They made so many things possible for us, but because of Brent and Mel, that has to be said.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Yeah, shout out to Red Bull and big thanks for everything you guys did for rollerblading and extreme sports in South Africa back then. They were a consistent sponsor and a delicious, tasty beverage when we needed it. Cliff, maybe you want to tell us about the time when you actually got your Red Bull helmet.
Jeez. So this is where memory fails a little bit. Man, I wish I could give you the moment. You'd think that that's a moment that you would remember, but unfortunately, Byron, I can't give it to you.
It's a long time.
I'm thankful that I still have it. I thought I'd lost it for so long, and then my this is funny. My nephew, who is he's now 9, he got a motorized golf cart. My dad sent my Red Bull helmet over to South Africa to give to him. So he gave it to me and he says, take this when you go back to South Africa, give it to your nephew so that he can be safe on the go-kart. I said, are you kidding me? What? I thought this was gone, and if you think I'm going to give this helmet away, you're crazy. And so, I'm so thankful that I do still have it. I can't remember when I got it. It's not lost on me the kind of honor it is to wear it. I look at videos these days and to see the kinds of athletes that are representing with those helmets, and you think, gosh, what an honor it was to wear one of those helmets. Truly. But I don't know. I can't give it to you.
It was a long time ago, and I know my memory is extremely fuzzy from those days.
Oh,
so.
Man. Yeah, from those days specifically. Wow.
Here's a legendary wide shot of Kyalami Skate Park, Rossi Skate Park. Huge Red Bull sponsorship over there on the vert ramp.
Yeah.
And oh man, what I would give for this place to still exist and be inducted into the Hall of Fame of skate parks.
Yeah.
Let's be honest, eh? We've skated a fair few skate parks locally and abroad, internationally, Brent's ramps. You guys have already said this, but they were truly some of the best ramps you could possibly skate. Smooth as Johnny's. The wood-metal combination, it was unbelievable. What comes to mind when you look at this park? Man, I remember Sundowners and playing Papa Trick. Do you remember Papa Trick? And just how we played Papa Trick like there was no tomorrow, man. It was too good. On that little rail.
And one bounce on the vert ramp.
On the
one-round
vert, yeah.
sessions were
Oh, yeah,
pretty
amazing.
notorious.
Who was the wall bitch that time?
What a bizarre game.
Just blasting the ball at each other. But yeah, speaking of pop a trick, the homies would always catch you out with that one trick. They'd know your weakness and eventually
Yes.
get you with some switch stance, alley-oop, something or other.
Yeah, that's truly so good.
Oh man, what a layout! Nothing after the skate park compared. And this huge
This
rail
one
on
was
the
much
side.
later.
Yeah, much
The
later.
big picture here was much later than the park we just saw.
Yeah, you can see the different layouts actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, we still had the small hip here in the front, and there it was two big as quarter pipes basically for a hip.
I feel like this layout was before the other one, but I may be wrong.
Wow. Wow. Yeah.
But mad styles. I mean,
I was
yeah,
gonna say that, like, as far as somebody whose style I always just thought was like the best, up there with the guys, Josh Petty, that like level of just composure in your tricks and making things, as you say, Cliff, there's a soul grind and there's a soul grind. The way you would perform these tricks was second to none. And I think, the pictures demonstrate that very well.
Amazing. Thanks, John.
Look at that,
Gosh, man. We spent a lot of time thinking about the way that we did things there, right? It was one of the few elements that we were all sort of judged on, whether it was actual competition or just out in the streets. Style was such a thing for us, and as you can see, hugely influenced by the hip hop culture.
Hell yeah.
Amazing days, eh? It's I'm looking at the top right picture over there. I cannot not think of the battle that you and I had, Byron. Do you remember the disaster battle?
That was
too
it.
hectic. It was,
That was so epic.
that was the box.
That was
and
it.
That was 2001, and Cliff and I were absolutely launching ourselves, trying to do true spin, alley-oop, topside stuff on that thing from disastrous distance away, and just because of the distance plus the angle, it was just too difficult to do. Like, we both came so close so many times, and I still remember Herman saying to us eventually, "Oh, so why don't you just do a fucking soul grind or something?" Like, you're already launching yourself. Like, why you gotta do the hardest trick, bro?
I feel like I was playing it safe because I was going for a true spin topside soil, which was just you know how it goes in rollerblading. So one man's trash is another man's treasure, and so one man's hardest trick is another man's easiest. And it's like, so I'm doing a true spin topside soil, which, if I'm honest, was for me a very, very comfortable trick to do. But you were going for a disaster. Correct me. What was the name of the grind? Alley-oop.
Oh, man. Yeah. So it was also true spin, but it was topside porn star.
Porn star. There we go. True spin topside porn star, which is, gosh, man, which is insane and terrifying, and I couldn't imagine even attempting that. So I feel like if you had landed it, you would have clinched that one. But it was a battle like no other, man. Oh my goodness.
It was, man, we kept going at it. That was for the best trick competition. And then
that's the danger I talk about. Like, when we said it's dangerous, we amped each other up dangerously, because it was
almost to a point where it could be kind of life-threatening in a way.
Detrimental to your health, 100%.
Yeah.
Finger threatening, but again, yeah, he was. So if I recall correctly, 2001, we having that battle, neither of us are landing the trick, like, super close, and then you did that disaster to backside royale and landed it and won that competition that year.
Yes.
And then the following year, it wasn't the best trick competition, but the nationals was in a group format. So what was it? It was like a session format where
Yes.
a couple of dudes would skate at the same time. And it also ended up with you and I in the finals. And that year, I landed the Disaster Soul and won that year, the following year. So it was, that was my peak. I peaked right then and there. It's been downhill ever since. No, but as you say, legendary levels of inspiration. And that comment from Herman sticks out to me. Shout out Herm. That was so funny. He was like, "Oh, you're so close, but why? Just do a soul grind or something." So, oh man, the comps was thick at that time of year. Johnny Q, where is this rail, bro? Where is this top acid from?
I see you guys changed the slides.
I did.
So this was, I think Graham Howard took this photo. He had a really nice fisheye lens at the time and was capturing some cool stuff for us. Great photographer, great videographer. This rail was in Sydenham, I believe, at the Bowls Club by Orange Grove, my old spot. And we had to chop down some bushes there to clear the way. And there was no run-up or landing. I think we used a plank of wood to get on and off.
I think we brought boards with us to skate this.
But it was a really amazing rail in this like overgrown Bowls Club. Skating some rims with the top acid. I'm not sure where Cliff was during this round. I don't know. I'm not too sure on the timeline. This is probably like 2005, maybe.
Yeah, later on.
3. Yeah.
Didn't someone fall on this rail and broke it?
Possibly. I don't think it was me. I probably would have remembered if it was.
No, it wasn't you. I think it was someone else, like someone from the PTA crew. I think someone, if I remember it correctly, fell on this rail and it broke
it with their ribs
at the bottom.
Oh,
sounds familiar.
But yeah, some of the extremes we went to be able to skate a nice rail was rocking up here like Machete and having to cut down the jungle.
Clear up the rail first, lay out some boards.
That's awesome.
It's quite a sick one. Sorry for the jump in chronology. That was my bad.
I haven't seen that one.
This is an amazing photo. That is Morgan van Staden. Shout out DJ Switch. He's rocking a sick podcast these days. Would be great to have him on one of these days. Yeah. Rocking an X grind. And so this is down at the Century City Canal Walk. Probably one of the first years the park was there because there's no graffiti up on the walls and stuff yet. So getting this kind of wide shot of the park looks like maybe it had just been finished up or open for business. And pretty sick again to see those ramps were they the ramps from Kailami? Yeah, to get reintroduced down there. Is that skate park still there? Does anyone know?
No, it's not.
Nah.
Oh, man.
Well, I think I skated one competition at that skate park, but I'm trying to remember if there was a combination of the blue sheet metal and the raw timber still. But I think it was all uniform.
Brent basically built this skate park and drove it down here and set it up. It was for the comp. It was all portable ramps. It was for the comp, and then Boogaloo's ended up because we had the Retanga Junction comp before this year, and then the ramps stayed there, and then Boogaloo's was like, "Yeah, cool." Amazing. Then we had this comp, and Boogaloo's was like, "Yeah, cool. We want to keep this as our skate park." Amazing. So Brent set up this whole park for Boogaloo's and the comp.
That's right. Yeah, not a lot of details come to mind when I look at these things and think of the competitions, but the only thing that sticks out every single time to date was the way that we hung out. Yes, you guys, it was something else. It was just time to be alive when we all got together, and it was particularly competition time. And you'd see all the area codes get together, and mischievous as it was so good and so fun.
Yeah.
Man, and these
Also
Cape Town
linking up
trips
with-
were absolutely epic. Yes.
Yeah, also linking up with all the Cape Town crew and skating street with them, and some epic times.
Yeah. Epic times.
Gosh,
to say that.
shout out to the Cape Town gents. I mean, the drive to Cape Town is really something. Shout out to Brent driving down with ramps in a trailer, and sure, that is serious
Solly,
business.
he basically his whole crew. He had to take down a whole crew to set up everything.
Yes.
Oh.
And once again, shout out to Solly looking out for us when we were growing up, and he actually named his son after Cliff. Named his son Clifford.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't laugh because
amazing.
that's silly. It's amazing. I mean, that he would do something like that.
And I mean,
Beyond me, but my goodness me, Solomon was a good man. You guys gave him such credit. You honored him last show, and rightfully so. That guy was holding the fort. And you know what? I sometimes wonder, we didn't. I think we sort of, when we had made our mind up about something, we went with it. Nobody was really going to stop us. But I wonder just how unhinged we might have been if there weren't some individuals like Solomon and Winton Miller around there, just how unhinged might we have become? It was too good. So grateful for those people in our lives, man.
King Solly.
Yeah, look, I think without them and without the skate park and that direction for that youthful, mischievous energy, it's very easy to go down a darker, worse path when you're that age, when you're teenagers, and we're experimenting with stuff, but it wasn't really about that. It was about the skating, and I feel like it saved a lot of lives, honestly. I mean,
Byron, you say that. I don't think you say that lightly. There was one particular weekend, and I just got my roses. Forgive me, my rollerblade tarmacs, and I was sort of at a crossroads because I had a little posse of guys. There were 5 of us that we used to hang out with in school. Nothing to do with rollerblading at all, but we did everything together, everything. And we were a naughty bunch. And so, the older you get, naughty starts to take a bit of a darker turn, And I just remember this one weekend when I can't remember who gave the invite, but it said, "Hey, do you want to go to Kyalami? There's a skate park in Kyalami." And it was a yes. And so we went. I went with one of my friends, and that was the same weekend that this crew of guys that I used to hang out decided to start experimenting with heroin for the first time as lighties. And one of those guys has passed on since because of it, and the other guys' lives have been turned around, not after a tremendous amount of time. But I say that just to say, just to echo what you said. Like, I don't think if I would say that rollerblading was used to save my life, I would say that is absolutely true. The Lord saw it good for rollerblading to be a thing for us in our lives. There was a moment where you make a decision, but you have no idea the repercussions of it. You just gently go this way, and what came of it was a rollerblading career, a bunch of guys that shaped and formed you in so many ways over the years that we spent time together. Yes, we got up to mischief, but my goodness, the brotherhood that we experienced, the community that we had with each other, was deep, it was rich, it was real, and it was sustaining and long-lasting. And I feel like we all carry with us something that we got from that time in our life. Absolutely. I think, in closing the podcast last week, Nick said something that it sort of hit different. I'll paraphrase, but he sort of shone a light on how difficult it had been actually to sort of move on. And we can get so stuck in nostalgia and look back and go, yeah, but those were the days, because they were the days. I mean, they were such epic days. And you can't live in nostalgia. And it'd be tremendously difficult to move on from that place, because if I'm honest, when the dust settled man, when you come out of a brotherhood like we had, hey, the kind of camaraderie that we had, and you come out of that, you take a look around. Honestly, I didn't have an anchor during those days. I wasn't anchored. I was exploring, I was adventuring, I was discovering. I was not anchored in any respect, other than the delightful people that we had in our lives that tried to keep us or hold some loving restraint for us. So thankful for them. But, you know, when you took a look around, I was like, gosh, who am I, man? I'm sort of lost. I don't know what to do. I mean, there was a period of life when I used to see you guys, but now I was in the music industry. I was with this band called Flash Republic, and it just, I see some of the gents, but it was so bizarre and just so abnormal. It didn't feel right. It was just so different because you know that you have this brotherhood, but something had gone wrong. Life happened, man. And I personally struggled, as Nick had sort of alluded to move on from that nostalgia and to find who I truly was, you know, who I truly am. That was such an impactful time of my life in many good ways, but without an anchor, it also served as it tilted towards sort of the negative side, if you like, just because of not having an anchor. But ultimately, under the umbrella of good, sitting here and talking about these things and looking back, it's what an impactful time of life that we had together.
It's the hero's journey, my friend. You had the call to adventure, and you know, then you're faced with difficulties. I mean, we're all after those times. I mean, rollerblading had sort of run its course for all of us, and we all started to do new and different things. And as you say, the brotherhood was there, but now times have just changed. Times have changed, and things are different. And I think that was a period where we all had to find our ways again. And I'm just super grateful that, you know, we are still friends 20 years later. It's the bond and the brotherhood was so deep that it's, you know, chatting. Whenever I see any one of the homies where it's been 5, 10, 15 years, it's like nothing's changed. Like so much has changed, but between us, it's like nothing has changed. And that's a truly beautiful thing, because most people don't have friends like we do. And so, yeah, super grateful for all of you guys.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's the side that we don't really talk about much, you know. And I wasn't sure when we were going to get there, but I think we all struggled with that. And Nick brought it up, and Cliff, you put it very well there. So I'm not going to repeat anything, but I think each one of us had to figure that out to a degree in a group, because you still hung out with the same people, but you weren't doing the same things. But at the end of the day, individually, who are you beyond this? You know, who am I if I take this out of my life that I've sort of identified, made my identity so much? Who am I without that structure holding me up? And I think now it's so nice to be able to look at skating from a little bit of a distance. I can almost enjoy it more now, just simply because I don't put as much sort of pressure on myself, or I'm just there to enjoy it, even if it's rolling around. You know, I don't have to try push myself, or, you know, we did that for so many years, it becomes a little bit exhausting. But it's so cool that we can, like, now Frank and I skated not too long ago and just still come back to it, but from a different perspective, and appreciate it in a different through a different lens. You know, it's still there for us, which is the crazy thing, you know. And here we are making a podcast talking about it. And I think hopefully in sort of, you know, episodes to come, we can start talking about, you know, what happened when we didn't have it, and, you know, what that experience was like, because I think we all did go through that. And just shot for putting it so eloquently.
So
like a soliloquy.
Like a soliloquy.
I was going to mention that on a while back. Like a soliloquy.
Like a soliloquy.
So,
Fantastic.
this
Wow.
pic is 2003 or 4-ish, man. You can see, well, I don't know if you can see to the viewers, Nick had broken his collarbone. We were down in Cape Town for a competition, and right before the comp, there was a show, and man, something happened on the fun box where Nick launched and just totally fucked out, for lack of a better word, landed on his back and broke his collarbone. And oh man, poor dude, like
This
it was extremely rough.
we nicknamed him Dr. Druggles because he had all those painkillers that would make him so woozy. Wherever we took him, he was just so like out of it, bro, from all the painkillers. But yeah, I mean that's Herman's apartment. That's where Herman used to stay in Tunbush Cliff there. Yeah.
Sure.
We used to sleep. We used to come down for the contest and then sleep outside Herman's room, like in the passageway, just on some mattresses, and that would be where we stayed for the comp. You know.
Epic times.
Much later on.
Yeah, I'm not sure when last I rocked the braids. So that was a long time ago.
Sure.
It was you were back at Century City. Similar years, maybe, but
Yeah.
I think this was close to when Broke King started, wasn't it?
Oh, no. I'm going to say no, but not because I know when it started, but because Broke Kings was a high school thing that came from high school. So we had been quietly chugging along in the background, trying to do something like that in there. This was.
Yeah, but didn't you guys release an album around this time?
Release an album. I mean, yes.
Or like,
we
songs or whatever. I don't know.
I burnt the CD, bro.
I burnt a CD. We burnt a CD and had all of the faithful support from all of our homies, and so that was amazing. I do remember that indeed. Yeah, the caboose. No. I'm trying to think of. No, I'll bosh it. I'll butcher it completely. If I'm trying to remember some of the songs that were hugely inspired by some of our hotel antics. Some of the experiences that we all share together.
Long train rides.
Yes. 420 choruses, etc. Long train rides, absolutely. Man, what a time to be alive, eh? Thankful to be alive. We that dare competition that Gaza and Jackson were playing with each other was no joke. That was no joke.
That was no joke.
I'm Jackal the Jackal, and it's never been done since.
Never been done since, yeah.
Shout out to Herm rocking the topside acid down this box. That's mad style. Topside acid is always a mad style trick. And
my biggest influence in South African skating was Herman Potgieter. And so this guy inspired me so hugely because I stumbled across this guy, and obviously Boogaloos. This guy I speak about, one of my closest mates of all time. Spent a tremendous amount of time with Herman, riding back and forth between Boksburg and Pretoria and to Joburg, whether it was in the Opel or it was in his Grey Goose. You remember that, but we skated a lot together. And, his ability to, get creative with different obstacles in front of him and his all-roundedness, whether it was ramp or street, was just exceptional for me. I think it was something to behold. He had an amazing style and consistency, I think, which it turns out that maybe consistency was one of the most powerful tools that we had in our toolbox. You do anything consistently, good or bad, and it's going to take shape. So consistency is something to behold, and Herman had it.
That's true.
Well, and as you say, he also had the style as well as the amplitude.
Sure.
You and him were doing the biggest flat spins, the biggest 540s. And so if you've got that consistency, but with the style and the big tricks, I mean, there's a reason you guys were always winning this stuff. It was exceptional.
And that BMT, big match temperament. I think you guys could just handle the pressure, and for some of the rest of us, it took a while of skating under that pressure to get used to it, and to be able to still do what you want to do. But you guys led the way.
Yeah, keeping it together during the run was not easy, right? Like you gassed out, you are trying to do your best tricks, and your legs are like jelly, and your chest is burning, and just so sometimes you had it and sometimes you didn't. But I mean, for me, Cliff and Herman are the legends of South African rollerblading. I mean, there's the international row C's lineup.
Yes, that's was it? Sure, go ahead, John.
No, I was just looking because I got a bunch of daily breads, and I know they did do a piece on you guys. I was trying to find it in the issues that I had, and in just going through them, I saw that Rosie's was always the front. As you opened the magazine, they had the double spread in the front always. And to see, this is obviously you in the Daily Bread magazine with that double spread. And to see the guys that you were on the team with, Blake Dennis, Jaron Grove, John Bergeron, it was just, there's the guys at the top, and I just thought I'd set that up for you really to take us through that, because you'd recognize a lot of those faces better than me.
Yeah, John. Yeah, thank you for putting it here. It's like I haven't seen this stuff for so long, and so to see it it's quite emotional, to be honest. And I'm trying to. I know where we were in doing this ad. So this was an ad that we were busy shooting for, and it was in Venice, and that was a little handrail along, those little bridges that they go over the canals in Venice, and that's Mandel Belarus in the background over there. And
wow.
Yeah, we had just landed. I just met him personally, and we started the relationship drinking 8% stout beer, talking about being on a Roses team and how amazing that is, and that was great. And then we all set off to go and do a bit of a Roses ad, and we did it at Venice Beach, and if I remember correctly, this would probably mark maybe for me the most special year I had internationally. It was incredible to be skating internationally. I spent many months each year abroad, but you guys, the level was up there. And so you might be winning a lot of the comps in South Africa, but you're not really making podium abroad very often. And we had now spent this particular year, I could be wrong, but I'm going to say that I'm right for this one. We had spent a lot of days on the road, and color video tour, Joe Navran and his shooting for all of the skate films. And man, we had moved from the States. We had toured all across from the States, east to west, and then we shifted over to Europe. And then we were doing a lot of shooting for videos over there. And then we all sort of came to the conclusion, we just realized none of us has qualified yet for the X Games. And because it was also a bit of a point system. And either you had the points or you take podium at one of the competitions. And so we planned it that the bus would close in Rome after this huge skate video session. This photo was en route there, and this was the Rome competition. And so I'm looking at these photos over here. Most of them were there, but this was also the days of Brian Schiemer and, man, all of those guys. They were Louis Zamora. Gosh, man, I think there's footage online. And again, just one of those good day, bad day scenarios. But it's a special moment for me, I think, because a lot of the heroes were there at this particular skate contest to qualify for the Extreme Games. And I just had a good day. And I took podium against all of these guys. And it was unbelievable. I couldn't believe it. Like, I remember actually Arlo, he was judging the competition. He came and found me. We were out somewhere doing something. And he was like, hey, did you hear the results? And I was like, no. I mean, I'm not interested in it. You know, I'm like, I know that I'm not on the podium. So like, whatever, you know, like, let's carry on street skating. And he's like, no, man, you took first place. And I was like, what? This is crazy, man. And it's just like, I don't know. It was just a special year. Good or bad, I think a lot of the guys on the team that I was with, it gave me some sort of legitimacy. A lot of other rollers on other teams, it gave me some sort of legitimacy, and doors started opening. Hey, come stay with us. Come and hang out here. That's why I ended up living with Brian Sheehan for a while and spending a ton of time with Eric Schrein and the Escondido crew. So, which was just epic for my street skating, because you can imagine some of the spots that you skate in that area was, and then you're skating with, I think all of us would say this at the time, probably some of the most incredible street skaters we had ever known and seen. Those guys were just, you know, pushing the levels, pushing the limits, getting really creative, doing stunts, and just to be able to ride that wave with them for a little while was absolutely unbelievable. And so to see this photo over here is special. Yeah, thanks for digging that up, John.
And Cliff, what was your what did Rosie's offer you as a pro skater? Because for us as Team Rosie's here, we got free skates and we could skate free, I think, at all skate parks, and we obviously got shows. That's where we kind of got a bit of money. But I mean, from what I read a little bit yesterday, you were in high school still, and they actually gave you a salary.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
and
it was.
Was that enough to sort of live off and sustain you, or you know what?
Sure.
What was the relationship?
It was more than enough, and if I had any sort of financial savvy at the time, I would have done things a little bit differently. Because it was an extraordinary amount of money. It was an extraordinary amount of money. It was challenging, if I remember correctly, it was challenging for my dad to recognize that someone that wears baggy pants and a 1-inch thick silver chain and a straight peak cap and triple XL t-shirt could earn such an amount of money doing something as obscure as rollerblading. So I do remember that it was a point of contention. We were discussing it with my folks. My dad wasn't particularly keen on me, you know, leaving school to do this. And my mom, being the dreamer, said, "Are you kidding? This is the opportunity of a lifetime." And it was. It was. I can't remember the dollar amount, but it was an extraordinary amount of money. And on top of that, there was budget for travel, and so.
Okay.
Man, I could skate. Man, I would get a long A4 list of all of the competitions and be like, "Hey, can I go skate this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one?" And then, of course, if you plan it correctly, and because of the circuits that you were doing, you know, you could just get to Europe. You could spend the whole year there. You could spend the whole year in the States.
Wow.
An opportunity of a lifetime. I think back on it. I don't know. Sometimes it's just a bit unreal, John. Guys, it's just a bit unreal that is something that actually happened. You know, there's things that you kind of dream about it, the impossible, the over and above, the more than you could ever possibly imagine. It was exactly that. It was no restraint with regards being a little rollerblader. Hey, guy, you get to get as many skates as you want. Just call it. You know, there was a wheel sponsor, there was a clothing sponsor with Eulogy and bearing sponsors. It was just unreal. And then on top of that, just being able to like swipe a credit card and then be flown off to a country. And I don't want to say that I wasn't, that I didn't get it, but I think, you know what, I was so into rollerblading that I didn't actually soak it up. I didn't actually go, what is going on with my life, man? Like,
Yeah.
I just cared to skate and get there and skate. I mean, like it's somewhat, it's kind of strange. It's sort of interesting as well to be so focused on something without pushing to get something, but then getting it. Sort of as a result of that, it's sort of fascinating.
It must have been completely surreal, bro. And the word you used was the dream. Like, I think that was the literal dream for any of us or any young rollerblader at that time. That was the dream. So it must have been a dreamlike state for you to be in the zone of skating, but with that opportunity to go do those things. And it's just absolutely incredible. And I think it's truly a one of a kind, a unique experience from South African history and South African rollerblading history. Like, I don't think anyone else had that experience except you.
I don't think
So
anybody since you. Who else has been overseas and reached that level of success? You know?
I know not quite like that. And this would be, I'll get to it now, but this would be also, as a result, things changed in the rollerblading industry quite rapidly. I think there was some discussion around the Olympics way back when. I think there was decisions made that said, no, we're not particularly keen. And as a result of that, money was pulled from rollerblading as a whole, and it just kind of took a plunge. And, you guys will know that rollerblading just disappeared off of the screens. You could still watch skateboarding and BMXing and all of that, but skating just disappeared really quickly. And all of the money that the skaters were being paid. And so, look at this, there's 3, 4, there's 8, there's 16 people on this Roses team, and we were all being paid well.
Sure.
That is incredible if you think about it. And then you had all of the other skate companies as well. And so, there was a lot of money as far as, a small niche sport goes. And that sort of all disappeared real quickly. I'm trying to think of something. What were you talking about, John, just to refresh my memory, because I felt like it was necessary to say.
I was just asking your relationship with them and, what your commitments to them were in that scenario. I think you answered it pretty well. I don't know what else you had to add there.
Sure.
Well, I had mentioned that it was the dream, Cliff, of all the guys at that time. And I think it was historical.
Yeah.
It was historical.
Yes, and so thank you. You got me. Not quite, I think, on these levels as a result of maybe just the financials not being there fully. But Chris van der Merwe, it wouldn't be right if I didn't mention Chris van der Merwe for a few reasons, because of who he is and what he's doing for rollerblading in our country today. Where he's come from in rollerblading and just the full circle he's taken. I'll leave his story for himself to tell. But he, you say, what do you say to people like Mellenbrett? What do you say to anybody having experienced such a dream? There's this gratitude in you. There's a thanks. You've got a thanks in you that just wants to say, man, I'm thankful, man. Like this is beyond my wildest imagination. This was unreal. And I won't delve in too much here, but Chris, he's holding the fort in Somerset West. He's got the I2B skate park over there, which is, as far as skate parks goes, well, it's way up there with the best of them. It's such an amazing place to skate. I say this not having skated there in years, but I see the pictures. And I did spend a little bit of time there. And it was that period of time where, if I'm speaking about giving thanks, man, rollerblading had ended, fell into the music industry, it wasn't just a boyish naughty anymore. Things took sort of a dark turn, and just trying to figure out who I am in life. Had no idea who I was, wasn't anchored at all. And this had led me literally to the foot of the mountain in Somerset West, Helderberg Mountain. Quite lost, shall we say, not knowing what it is that I'm doing in my life, no direction. And I quite literally stumbled across the skate park. And you have to understand the sort of thing that goes through your mind with a history like this. Having been flown out as a kid and earning a salary to rollerblade and to skate. And now I've stumbled across the skate park and I'm sitting here and I'm thinking to myself, Cliff, what on earth has happened in your life, man? Like, to give you a little bit of context, I had lost everything, guys. It was this journey of trying to figure out who I am. John, you sort of speak about, it had taken me down some strange dark roads and trying to figure this out. And I sat here at the skate park looking at the ramps, remembering things I've done, remembering contracts and sponsorships. And this guy, Scott, who was the Solomon of the skate park where they came and sat next to me, he says, "What you doing here, man?" And I said, "None of your business." And he said, "Actually, it is. I look after the skate park." I said, "Okay, just having a bit of a day, man, if you don't mind." And this guy started to share his life story, and man, I don't want to get these details wrong, so maybe I'll leave them out. But if I understood him correctly, I think he had been shot in the head. He had been on deathbed, and he had this radical turnaround in his life. And you guys know Chris. You know a little bit about me and how life has turned around. I'm going to stay in my lane and say, man, had this encounter with Christ. And this guy invited me in to come and hang out at the skate park, not knowing my rollerblading history, and said, "Hey, would you help me build this bowl? And we've got a skate comp coming up here, and you will see these guys, man, they're crazy. They do crazy things." And I was like, "Yeah, that'd be cool." And what that meant for me, it was hope. Eh? He had offered me a little bit of hope. I was so hopeless at the time, so I came every day and started building this park with him. Until one day, Chris came to the skate park and he was like, "Hey, Cliffy, how's it going, man?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh, man, this is so humbling. Like, supposed to be the guy, like, superstar, and was pro skater, and if you had bumped into me at this particular point in my life, you would have seen it on my face that things were wrong, things were hard, and man." To get back to my point of carrying a thanks inside of me, Chris gave me an opportunity to do that because he pointed me to something far greater than all of us over here. And, that skate park is a ministry for him. He creates a space, as did Brent and Mel, for youth to go hang out and they get up to mischief, but there's restraint and it's good. And if I'm not mistaken, Brent and Mel I think they had an unction from the same one that Chris and I do as well. I remember Mel and Brent talking to me about God and saying that the whole reason why they're doing all of this is because they feel like He has asked them to do this. And then Chris did the same thing. And so my life turned around radically 10 years ago at that skate park. And I just found that, all in one hand, quite amusing, that this higher power would bring me back to a skate park after all of these crazy dark years, but also knowing my history, which made me feel like that was really intimate. And it was just special. And He used that as a catalyst and as a place for me to remember who I was, but now to look forward with new eyes and to sort of tackle this life on with meaning and purpose. And I started to discover meaning and purpose in Him. And that's why it hit different when Nick spoke about that. Because, man, we found a lot of meaning and purpose in our brotherhood and in our skating, which was perfect, man, good and right. But as soon as, like you said, John, that was taken away, sure, it seemed like direction was taken away with it. For some of us, we're still on that road. For some, perhaps all of us will continue to be on the road till the end of days, and just discovery and exploring. But I'm thankful for Chris and my brother at the time giving me something to give thanks to. This is a very long-winded, roundabout way of saying, how do you say thank you? And I think I found someone to say thank you to, and that is God. And after an incredible life and a gift of going overseas and skating with the pros, and having friends like you guys, even though we haven't seen each other in so many years, but sitting here and talking to you guys, it was like it's yesterday, just like you said, Dee. And so thankful for that and for the opportunity to see these photos.
Yeah, we're super thankful that you're here talking to us. and sharing a little bit about what you went through, and touching on how you became pro to how you found God. And we appreciate it. It's nice to have you on and to see how transparent you're willing to be, how willing you are to be, to humble yourself, to come on and say these things and share with us what you went through in life. And hopefully that will inspire other people to do the same.
Thanks, mate.
We
Cliff,
really
thank
appreciate
you.
it, bro.
Thank you for sharing that, bro. That was, that really, really deep. And I'm so grateful you're here. And I'm so grateful that the Lord works in mysterious ways and brought you back from there to where you are now, because I can see you're healthy and well and like life is good. I'm so grateful to have you here, and thank you for sharing your time with us. I feel like that's a perfect place to end it for today. I know we've all got little kids to look after, things to do.
I can see my boy waving at me with his one finger like this.
The time is precious, so thank you for your time. And John, you want to let us know your thoughts?
Yeah, it's just been such an honor, Cliff. Honestly, I've just been sitting here with a smile on my face listening to you retell these stories, and it's good to hear them from you. And as you know, those hard times that we go through, at the time you don't realize, but those are actually the most defining moments. And it's just that's a beautiful story to share. So I also just appreciate that, and I think that little bit of hope is sometimes all you need. That little spark in the distance. As long as that's there, there's some willingness to go forward. And I'm glad Chris was a part of that, because we all love Chris, and he played a big role in all of our lives in one way or another. And he's still around doing great things. So I really enjoyed this chat, and I think we could even keep going. This is a part 2 type of podcast, I feel like. But dude, it's been a pleasure, and missed you, and great to catch up.
Yeah, missed you guys too, sitting here with you, and thank you. It's been too good, man. Love to chat with you guys again. It'd be great.
Yeah, thanks so much, Cliff. Where can guys follow you or check out your work or whatever you're up to now? I know you got cliffordviljoen.com.
I do. Yes, that's a site that I've been using while I've been in Canada. I've been ordained as a reverend, and so that was just a space for folks to read about some of the things that I'm thinking about, but also to get in touch with me if they're looking to get married. My wife and I marry people. What a privilege. And so I'm not going to direct people there to that site.
Well, I will. I'm going to put all the links on the site in the show notes. I'm going to link to Knuckle Hub that John mentioned, and whatever else I can find. But thank you to everyone for watching and listening. Shout out to Cliff. If you are on YouTube, please just do us a favor and click the subscribe button, and we'll see you again next time. We'll definitely get Chris on, and thank you to Chris on behalf of Cliff, and the legends continue. Thank you all.
Amazing.
Peace.
Awesome, guys.
Thanks. Peace.